Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the best animated shows ever, so far, with MC and Troy.
Welcome to the best animated shows ever. So far. I'm Troy.
And I'm MC.
And this is a podcast where we watch, discuss, and rank every single animated show ever. Eventually, which is another tagline that I wrote for us because I've just been writing stupid taglines all the time. I got facts. You want facts?
Yes, I want facts.
We're talking about biker mice from Mars, and for each episode, I've decided I'm going to talk about some behind the scenes things. So I've broken them out. So for our first episode of Biker Mice from Mars, I want to tell you a little bit about the guy who created Biker Mice from Mars. Do you know anything about him, MC?
Oh no, nothing.
All right.
I just remember the show from when I was a kid.
Oh man, buckle your pants. That's not how the saying goes, but I'm distracted by trying to get my notes to open properly because I'm going to tell you about Rick Unger. Rick Unger. Let me just read you his Wikipedia blurb. Okay, this is, at the top of Wikipedia. It gives you a general description of who the person is. Okay, Rick Unger, born November 4th, 1950, is the senior political contributor to Forbes.com, co-host of Steele and Unger on SiriusXM POTUS channel, and the co-host of The Daily Wrap on Newsmax TV. He began appearing on Forbes on Fox in 2012. Previously, Unger was a Hollywood writer and producer in television, particularly in the animation industry.
Okay.
Like a very well-developed political writer and analyst, and also created the Biker Mice from Mars. What?
No, actually, when you start thinking about some of the themes and stuff in Biker Mice from Mars, that makes a whole lot of sense now.
Yeah, he's very left-leaning. When I first read that, I was like, Forbes on Fox, like Fox News? But no, he is a very left-leaning political analysis. So yeah, he's all about environmentalism and stuff, which will make a ton of sense when we get into Biker Mice from Mars. He was also the president of Marvel Productions, which is the TV wing of Marvel Entertainment. So right? This dude was huge, and I had no idea. And then also he made Biker Mice from Mars, which, to be fair, was also huge. But yeah.
Oh my god! When we were kids, do you remember the action figures?
Yeah. So that's something that, as I was going through this episode, I don't remember. Were they standalone action figures, or were they Happy Meal style action figures? Or maybe there's probably both.
I think there might have been both. I had the full on
articulated.
Yeah, the
Ninja Turtle style ones.
Yeah, Ninja Turtle ones where their arms bent. They had springy antennas, and
I don't remember.
And you could position them and stuff, and they were proper action figures.
Yeah. See, I feel like I had a couple of those. I mean, the action figures I remember having most as a kid were G.I. Joes, the Ninja Turtles ones, which I liked because they were thick. The G.I. Joes seemed so scrawny when you put them next to the Ninja Turtles because they were boo.
The Ninja Turtles were always jacked.
And then I had a ton of the Batman figures because that was the golden age of Batman action figures.
Yeah.
Scuba diving Batman and paragliding Batman and Batman with umbrella to go have a picnic on a cloudy day. They had every Batman figure possible. But I think I had a couple Biker Mice from Mars, and my memory is that they fit in well with the Ninja Turtles, in terms of size and everything.
Yeah. And they're all jacked as well. And that's in the show. I remember having Vinny.
Okay.
Who's the white one with the mask?
His face blown off.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I had Throttle. I'm not sure if I had what's his his name.
Moto.
It starts with an Moto. Yeah. I'm not sure if I had him or not, but I didn't have any of their bikes. I remember that.
What the one that stuck out to me, we'll actually get to it in the third episode, but it's fine to talk about it here. The like guest villain of the week in the third episode, I'm pretty sure I had like a Happy Meal size figure of him that was him like permanently affixed to his little like go-kart thing that he was in. And I'm pretty sure that I had one of those. That was a really, a much smaller one. And maybe it had like a spring-loaded thing, where you pull the cart back and let it go and it goes.
Okay. I'm wondering if we watched like the same ones, because what I watched, I had like a 20-minute episode, and then for episode 2, it was a 40-minute episode. That was I'm like, is this supposed to be a 2-parter? And I'm thinking it was supposed to be a 2-parter, and someone on YouTube's just joined them together.
I think that's probably what happened. So you might have watched an extra episode.
I have.
Let's at the end of episode 3, we'll let you do like a mini-sode about the 4th episode, because I haven't watched it yet. But let's get into the first episode. So Biker Mice from Mars opens with the 3 titular. Is that how that word is said? I'm not going to use that word. Let's start over again. The first episode of Biker Mice from Mars, which is called Rock and Ride, opens with 3 alien buff mice in a spaceship that looks like a motorcycle, flying through space, running away from another spaceship. Looks kind of like a fish. Hint, hint. And then they crash land into Chicago. They meet a girl named Charlie who works on bikes, and tell her the story of how their planet, Mars, was basically completely destroyed by an invading force who ripped up the ground. And Charlie goes, well, from the looks of things, they're here. And Chicago's being just demolished.
That's pretty much the recap of the first, like, 4 or 5 minutes of the show. The only big thing that you missed out was Grease Pit.
Yeah, Grease Pit's interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah. So essentially, this is a human who is trying to. Yes, he's a human.
That was my first question about Grease Pit, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird, because with all these aliens running around, you think this guy might be an alien, but he's just a human who's constantly covered in grease.
Covered is a kind word. The dude is extruding grease. Like, he just...
Yeah. Where does it come from?
I don't know. It's coming from his pores. He sweats grease. It's so upsetting.
It's black, and it splashes everywhere, and it makes his character, like, immediately you're like, okay, that's a slapstick character.
Yeah, but he's very Bebop and Rocksteady.
Yeah, he's very big.
Mm-hmm.
He's covered in grease, and people are constantly falling over around him.
Right, because
that's his entire role.
So you slip on it.
Yeah.
In fact, Vinny, go ahead.
We see that happen like 3 or 4 times in this next scene. Not only does it happen to Grease Pit himself,
mm-hmm.
it happens to Charlie,
mm-hmm.
and then it happens to Vinny as well.
Yep. Everybody slips around when Grease Pit is there, but he's also good for a punchline. So like Charlie at one point, Charlie's the girl who runs the bike shop. Grease Pit's there to try to buy the bike shop because, as we'll find out, the aliens who are trying to strip mine everything are trying to legally purchase all the land first, I guess, which is a little weird.
Yeah.
But so Grease Pit's trying to buy the building, and she like hits her lift, and it smashes him up into the ceiling. And she says something about like, oh, my lift needed a good grease job or something like that. And it's just like, oh, because
that's exact line. Yeah.
Because he's greasy. And then he beats up the lift, which was where I was like, wait, is he an alien? Because he's strong enough that he's put the ceiling by the lift and like pushes off of it and kicks the hydraulic lift and buckles the metal. Dude's strong for a person.
Oh yeah, he's jacked, and he kicks like the lift, and it the hydraulic on the lift, and it buckles and stuff, and it just starts going down.
Yeah,
it's really weird. And then Vinny shows up, and he's like, "I'm gonna kick your ass," and then slides across the floor because of all the grease.
Mm-hmm. And then is this where he whips out a laser flare? Because he uses laser a lot. I love his laser flares. I don't know why, but they make me so happy. So Vinny, we'll go from this. Let's talk about all the mice after this. But Vinny, one of the mice, is wearing like crossing bandoliers full of little capsules, kind of like Chewbacca style. But it turns out that all of those capsules, they're not like bullets for a gun. They're flares, but they're like laser flares. And every time they come up in my notes, I just have laser flares in all caps. I don't know why it made me so happy, but I loved his laser flares.
And he just pulls one of those out, throws it. Can't remember what happens.
Let's see. What does he do in this one? Oh no, the others come in. Because he says, "What are you, man or mouse?" And then he's "You're rats," and they're like, "We ain't no stinking rats." They take great offense to being called rats, and gerbils, which they get called again. But let's back up. Let's talk about the three mice. So we've got Vinny. He's white, like you said. I think you said that. Or maybe before we were recording. He's got a metal mask over half of his face, which is like
he does
kind of cool looking.
They bring it up almost. It's in that scene right after the fight. They bring up why him and Moto seem to be
augmented. I guess.
Yeah, augmented.
Is a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got messed up in a war, it turns out, and Vinny had his face blown off. So now he's got a cool metal mask.
And Moto's a big gray.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's supposed to be gray. He's kind of purpley.
I would call him gray, I think.
Yeah.
I interpreted him as gray.
Yeah. There was a few scenes, and I'm like, is he supposed to be purple or gray? There's a few scenes like that where the coloring's like kind of purple, and I'm like, I think he's supposed to be gray. But one of the big things about him is he lost an arm.
Just a whole arm.
Yeah. In a kid's show, by the way.
Yeah, in episode 1 of the kids show, they're like, "Oh yeah, this dude got his arm blown off in a war, a pointless war over soil. He got his arm blown off. Fun, huh, kids?" But it's okay because they replaced it with a robot arm that's got like lasers built into it and stuff. So if you're gonna lose your arm, at least get a cool robot arm in replacement.
Yeah, and then the third one. Oh, I forgot to mention, all the mice are brothers as well.
Oh, I didn't take it as they were actually brothers. I assumed they were, bros, but not actual brothers.
I'm pretty sure they're actual brothers as well. And the last one's Throttle, who's the leader, and I'm guessing the oldest brother, and he's brown.
I did not know what Throttle's name was until partway through the third episode. I paused it to go look it up because I was like, what is this dude's name? I got Vinny and Moto. What is Throttle's name?
They keep saying Throttle, but you like in context, you're like, are they?
It doesn't stand out as a name.
Going?
Yeah. It sounds like it's some of the like weird 90s rock and roll biker slang that they use.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was his name. And then I looked at him and I was like, oh, of course it is. They just said that. I just didn't process his name.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is because he didn't get hurt in the war. So he's the one telling the story. So they're telling the story about Charlie, or to Charlie, about what happened on Mars. And as he's telling that story, he says, during the war, Vinny here got half his face blown off and Moto lost an arm. And he doesn't say, and me, Throttle, I came through it just fine. So, like, there's never a scene that I'm recalling, at least, where, like, Throttle actually introduces himself to Charlie, whereas the other two both kind of get introduced.
So, yeah, right at the start, they get shot down by one of the fish aliens, the Frobos.
No, pull. Can't read my own. I don't know. Plutarchians.
There we go.
Are they from Pluto? I just got that.
I don't. Maybe.
I mean, that would make sense, right?
Well, they right in the first scene, there's a race that's going on, and Vinny wins, and he's like, "Oh, do you see me beat that person from Saturn?" So
that's right.
It might be Pluto.
At the opening scene, he's talking about how he's a bad mamma jamma, and he's watching watching himself in a race. Because these mice, we may not have mentioned this part yet, but they ride motorcycles because these are in fact biker mice from Mars. They have a very motorcycle heavy aesthetic. Their spaceship looks kind of like a motorcycle. It has motorcycle handlebars for steering, and their escape pods are motorcycles, which they crash in the middle of Wrigley Field during a baseball game. And the world like, oh shit, aliens, I guess?
And their ship falls into the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
Like it crashes into the scoreboard, and it's sticking out still when they land. And then after like that whole scene, and it's wait, no, that's later that it falls in, isn't it? Or is it at that point?
It falls into the scoreboard. So it's just with a giant spaceship sticking out of the scoreboard at Wrigley Field, and
none of the crowd like freaks out or anything until
I think
like
they cheer about it. Maybe they think like, I think it's supposed to be like, oh, it's part of the show. And the world is messed up. Like we said before, like Charlie comments that outside things are being ripped up. But even before that, when they land in the baseball stadium and ride their motorcycles out, Vinny has a confrontation like immediately.
Yeah, and they kind of like, this place seems familiar, which is foreshadowing to what happens at the end of the scene where Charlie's like, hey, I think they're here.
Yeah, it's all ripped up. What I was talking about, though, is riding through the baseball stadium, Vinny runs into a dude who's just mugging a hot dog vendor in the hallway of Wrigley Field.
Give me all your money.
Because that's a thing that happens. And Vinny stops the mugging and then gets a hot dog from the guy and then rides back and asks for Grey Poupon. Because these are very, like, pop culture literate biker mice from Mars.
Yeah.
They know all the good Earth-based jokes, which is a little bit weird. And then so let's see. The only other thing I think that I missed saying was that the garage that they go to is the Last Chance garage, right?
Yeah, Last Chance
garage, which is Charlie's place, and she's not willing to sell it because she's spunky and totally not a ripoff of April O'Neil in any way, except for that she looks exactly like April O'Neil. I want to get an April O'Neil figure and a Charlie girl action figure and just have them side by side.
I would like to point out that Charlie is actually a brunette and not a redhead, and that's the only difference.
Okay, that's fair. The way that redheads are colored a lot of times are pretty close to brunette, so I don't think I really even realized that was a difference, but I think you are right on that.
Yeah. I think she's a mechanic rather than a reporter. That's true.
But her like personality, I would say, the way that she interacts with them, like
she's very upbeat,
same as
and very accepting. Like it's so funny. It's like there's no aliens on this planet. Like they had. It's not like that. Like it's not like there's open aliens on Earth. It's like big mice rock up and she freaks out for like 5 seconds and then she's like, oh yeah, these guys are cool.
And as she's freaking out, she's like, I can't believe there's big mice here. And Moto looks at the camera and goes, you were expecting turtles, maybe?
Yeah. Well, this was made in 93, like.
So we know that the biker mice from Mars are very pop culture literate.
Yeah.
Does the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon exist in the world of biker mice from Mars? And Moto was actually literally referencing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon.
Probably.
I think that's got to be it, right?
Yeah, because they make several pop cultural references throughout, like the first episode and second episode for sure.
Yeah. I think he was actually talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like in character. That wasn't a break in the fourth wall thing. He was actually like, they've watched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I like that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
This makes me happy.
Yeah.
So the next chunk of story that happens here is we meet Lindbergh, the leader of the Plutarchians on Earth. Charlie helps the biker mice out with an upgrade for their bikes, and then we meet the like mad scientist who works for the Plutarchians.
Yes.
who
Starts
is
with the C.
Carbuncle.
Carbuncle. Yeah.
And he's trying to develop a way to stop the biker mice. They try to catch him in a mouse trap, and it doesn't work at all.
No.
We'll get to that, but first let's talk about Limburger. What do you got on Limburger?
Well, essentially, he looks like a fat little round guy in a purple suit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very evident straight away that there's something up with this guy, because he's trying to buy up land and he's trying to dig out all the ground.
Yeah. He's talking about how he's like Chicago and then London and Paris and Detroit. And then he's like, oh, maybe not Detroit. They're a little crazy for me over there, which was a weird line.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's going to buy up everything. That's his plan.
Yeah.
Right?
That's his plan, and he wants to dig up the land and send it somewhere. It doesn't. I don't think at this point they say where.
Yeah, that comes up barely in the second or maybe third episode. We'll talk about that more. But yeah, for now it's just we know he wants to buy up land, and he's like, I'm gonna soon all of this will be mine type thing.
Yeah.
I have a note I just saw in my notes that I literally have a note that says Moto lost his arm, Vinny lost half his face. What's the leader's name? Question mark. So it was literally in that scene. I was like, wait a minute, what's his name? And I never found out until the third episode. So Grease Pig comes back to Lindbergh and is like, hey boss, those biker mice are here. And Lindbergh is pissed about this. Apparently, they were the leaders of the rebellion on Mars, which is pretty.
They're not something just like that.
Yeah, they're not just any mice.
He mentions that they were a pain in the ass on Mars.
Yeah, they have been a problem for him before. Which, like, I'm like, give me that series. Where's the prequel series where it's them on Mars and like leading guerrilla military tactics against Lindbergh? Although, based on their adventures on Earth, I'm not sure how they lost on Mars when they did have an army at their disposal, because the Plutarchians seemed really like not good at their jobs.
I saw a start. So there's a newer version of Biker Mice from Mars, and I accidentally watched 2 episodes of that before I started watching the proper episodes. So I'm guessing one of the reasons is they have extra, like they show a scene right at the beginning of like those where they're hiding these holes into the ground where I guess all the mice live. So one of the things that they have to worry about, I guess, when they're on Mars is civilians.
Okay.
So it's a little harder for them to...
They're having to protect their own.
Yeah. I mean, they try and do it on Earth, but, well, they're not human.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm trying to think about it now. I'm like, there are definitely some casualties even in these first couple episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't get shown casualties, but
you get more people are like injured or something, and a lot of the areas that you see them fighting in are already like broken down, like hobble places. Like,
yeah, because Chicago's already pretty wrecked at this point. By the time the biker mice, I mean, there's plenty of like decrepit buildings for them to go bust up when they get into fights with the Plutarchians. That's true.
But I
just realized there's all these goons. Are those all just human goons then?
Yeah. They're just hired by Lindbergh.
Wow. That's messed up.
Which makes a lot of sense when later on and everyone's complaining about the smell.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, apparently Plutarchians smell real bad.
Well, they are fish people.
They are fish. They're so gross. So let's see. Back at the Last Chance Garage, Charlie Girl, she's frequently called Charlie Girl, not just Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie Girl has souped up the bikes. So they were looking for a garage because somebody had an issue with their bike, and she fixed that and was also like, and your weapons could use a little improvement. So I put in a few extras, and she put on like bike-mounted missile launchers onto their motorcycles and stuff. What kind of mechanic is Charlie? Because that's nuts. She literally built rocket launchers. That's crazy. And I love it.
I don't know.
I love it. And then let's see. She gets captured somehow. and she gets captured by Grease Trap with the mouse trap that they built, which is just a bunch of spikes, as far as I can tell. Like spikes,
pretty much.
Spikes on springs. I don't remember what they do with the spikes on springs. Do you?
They put Charlie on. They put Charlie on top. I'm pretty sure one of them grabs her off with their tail, and they blow it up somehow.
Sounds right. All the while, we've got a Guns N' Roses soundtrack playing because DJ Sweet Bobby Brown is on the radio playing rock and roll for the Biker Mice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Moto blows it up with his arm laser.
Okay. Oh, yeah. There, I've got a note that says leader because I didn't know his name. Throttle takes down the goon. Moto blows up the trap. Vinny catches the girl. So.
Yeah, that sounds right.
They save the day. You know, it's what they do.
Yeah.
It's what they do. What do you think of the action in this show in general?
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, how it happens is they'll be on their bikes. They'll just be going from one place to another, and then all of a sudden, they're ambushed.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah.
Every single time, and it's just like these weird buggy things come out of nowhere, and there's like 50 of them.
Yeah. With those apparently human goons that are fighting against the biker mice.
And they always blow up.
Yeah.
And all the goons seem to always be fine.
As far as we get shown, everybody's fine when they explode inside of a vehicle.
Yeah, because the vehicle explodes and the guy gets shot out of it.
Yeah, I guess they usually do that, don't they?
Yeah.
And then it's like the comic beat of them like landing on their butt.
Yeah, and they're all dazed and confused, but they're essentially fine, which is really weird because their vehicle just blew up with them in it.
It's true. So this plan goes awry. So Lindbergh has a great line where he goes, "Must I do everything myself?" and then calls up his mad scientist again, which is like, this is not doing anything yourself. This is just doing exactly the same thing that you did last time.
Yeah.
Calling up exactly the same person and offloading the responsibility exactly the same way.
And this time, the mad scientist is creating a creature that has a tentacle for an arm.
Oh, yeah.
And 3 eyes.
Uh-huh.
And some weird foot thing. And he currently doesn't have a brain. And what you see the mad scientist do is just shove a brain into this open skull of this thing and then staple shut the scalp over the top of it.
Yeah, that's how...
And it's alive, apparently. And for some strange reason, likes to be hurt.
Yeah, that character's got some weird things about him. I remember him, though. Like, as soon as he popped up on screen, I was like, I have no idea what his name is. He never does anything important that I can remember. He's just kind of there all the time.
So, I think I had a Happy Meal figurine of him.
I'm going to interrupt real quick. I'm sorry. I just saw this and I'm so distracted. There's a Biker Mice from Mars game for iOS. It's an endless runner where you're on a bike and have to dodge out of obstacles and stuff. So
it's Temple Run on a bike.
Yes. So those of you listening to the best animated shows ever so far, I have another podcast called Troidal Power Presents the Power Playthroughs podcast with Troidal Power, where I play video games, and I'm totally going to release an episode of me playing the Biker Mice from Mars iOS game. So head on over and check that out.
I've actually got 3 or 4 episodes of that banked up.
Of Troidal Power Presents the Power Playthroughs podcast with Troidal Power?
Yeah. I'll probably be listening to them at work.
It's such a dumb name. I love my dumb name. Like other podcasts that I'm now friends with cannot say my name properly when they try to say my nname on their show. They're like, Troidal Powers Podcast, Powerful Gameplay Podcast. And I'm like, well, that's close enough.
can we just bring up why you did that?
Yeah, go for it, man. It was in
Uh,
tribute to you. So.
yeah, it was because of me, because I brought something up to Troy that I find hilarious, which is making a name of a thing and then being like, no, this has to be longer. So you just add in like random shit, like just a couple of extra adjectives or something in there to make it even longer. So it's just ridiculously long. And it's just one of my favorite things, just like ridiculously long names for something that could be like summed up in like 3 words.
Fred the Mutant is that guy's name. I was trying to look up what his name was and got distracted by the Biker Mice iOS game. But that dude's name is Fred the Mutant, and he's beautiful and he's a good boy. And I remember him from watching the show when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I know that guy. I know that dude.
Because that's his creation. It's halfway through episode 1, but he's in every single episode.
Yeah, he's just like a bit character in the background. Like, couple lines here and there. Like I said, I don't think he's ever like plot centric. He's just there.
No, yeah. He wasn't created to be a villain. He was created to be like this comedy sidekick to this mad scientist. Like he's supposed to be a helper. He's supposed to be the mad scientist Igor. Yeah, like he's supposed to be that character.
Totally, except even more incompetent.
Yeah.
So after he finishes working on Fred the Mutant, Carbuncle then reveals. He said, so earlier, Carbuncle's. He's a mad scientist, but I don't think he's very good at it, because earlier he was like, well, if you want to catch a mouse, you got to build a better mousetrap. This is not his voice. I cannot remember what his voice is.
No, he it's very similar to that. It's like this high pitch.
It's
like
higher pitch, right? If you want to catch a mouse. No, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's kind of gritty and.
But this time he says, if one has rats in the attic, there's but one thing to do: exterminate them. Which is like, well.
And then the exterminator shows up.
And then the exterminator shows up.
You wanna discuss what they're referencing here?
He's just the Terminator. Anyway. I mean, he's just the Terminator.
He's a metal Arnold Schwarzenegger who has a gun for a hand.
He rides a motorcycle, he shoots a shotgun, and he dies by falling into a pit of molten metal. It's just the Terminator.
No, that's oil. That's clearly oil.
Really?
Yeah.
Wouldn't he just like get extra grease
bubbling
up and climb out?
Yeah. No. Well, that's what you would think, but once again, it's oil. The sides of that container are very slippery.
That's fair. I didn't think of that. He's just sitting in there going, "Can I come out, please?
Can someone get me out of here?"
Yeah. So basically, the summary for this section is. The exterminator chases the biker mice from Mars.
With help of thugs.
With a lot of thugs.
Grease pit.
And they beat them all up. There's two things that get revealed in this section. One is that the Plutarchians, Lindbergher specifically, is a Plutarchian. He's not human.
Yeah.
He pulls off his human mask, Mission Impossible style.
Throttle does that because he smells something fishy.
Oh, Throttle actually pulls it off of him?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure he says the line, I smell something fishy.
Smell something fishy. Because this show loves a pun. We may have mentioned it before.
They loved it.
Loves a pun. This show is so goddamn witty in such an awful way, and I love it to pieces. They love puns, and they love rhymes. They will rhyme anything, and it's the best.
And if they're not saying something that's a pun or a rhyme, it's some weird 90s lingo that you've forgotten about, and you're like, whoa, that's a flashback.
I mean, forgotten about is a strong word. I think it's some 90s lingo that they made up that never existed in the first place. And you only ever heard it from watching Biker Mice from Mars.
But it's so funny. Like, the way they speak is not normal.
I mean, did you and your friends ever call each other bad mama jammas?
No.
Yeah, neither did mine. And yeah, in this show, totally. Yeah, you're totally a bad mama jamma.
Let's be clear. Vinny's the only one that gets called a bad mama jamma.
MC, Mama Jamma they're saying mother effer.
Yeah.
But the kids version,
Yeah.
my head just exploded. Oh my gosh, Vinny. So all right, let's close this one out. They beat the exterminator, and then they don't go back and take out Lindbergher because instead they're like, boy, we need a place to live, as their spaceship falls into the scoreboard at the baseball stadium. And Charlie's like, you should just
Why
live
don't you just live there?
Does that make sense? I totally can tell you that you now own the scoreboard. And they're like, cool, we got the bachelor pad. Now we just need to get something to eat. And she suggests cheese, and they all get offended. Wop, wop. And then the episode ends on the line, okay, you mama jammas, let's rock and ride. They're saying, oh my gosh.
I like how you just came to the realization how bad this, like intentionally bad, and like some of the stuff that they say is kind of like bordering on being like bad. Like they don't come out and swear.
You just substitute it in and it fits perfectly. I'm not going to, because I want to keep this show like relatively language appropriate. But yeah, that's Mama Jamma's a bad word, Vinny. And I never I'm shocked. I'm shocked and offended.
I like how none of that, like I don't remember any of that from when I was a kid, but watching it now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, a lot of
like, there's so much adult stuff in that show.
There really is, and a lot of the there was a lot of pieces of the show, like Fred the Mutant. I had no memory of Fred the Mutant, like none at all, until the moment I saw him, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's that guy! I know that guy. And like, if you had showed me a picture of him out of context, I probably wouldn't have known he was from Biker Mice from Mars. I probably would have guessed he was from Ninja Turtles, because they're basically the same show. But as soon as he showed up, like I had like a rush of like, that dude, and I still don't remember anything specific about him, but like I had a wave of nostalgia as soon as he showed up on screen, which was pretty fun. What do you think of this episode? Does it hold up?
I think so, but I think it more has to do with like my understanding of the humor and like the political stuff in the show. Whereas when I was a kid, none of that stuff touched me. Like I didn't get any of that. I just liked the action and like big mice that looked sick
and cool motorcycles with rocket launchers. I'm going to be honest. I struggled with this show because I was taking notes on it. And so I had to like really engage with it. So I tried one time to like passively engage with it and just put it on while I was doing other stuff and not take notes. And like 2 minutes in, I was like, I have no idea what's happening because it's just bright colors and explosions and like I have no understanding of what's happening. So it was one that I like, I when I tried to passively participate in it, completely blocked it out. I really had to like focus in on it. And once I focused in on it, it was kind of fun. But like My Hero Academia, I mean, I watched that taking notes, but I could also put that show on and I would like pay more attention to it than whatever else I was doing. Whereas this show was like super easy to not pay any attention to. And I don't know if that's a comment on the show or on me, but
I think it was maybe so like when you put kids down in front of a TV show, they tend to sit down and focus in on it.
That's true.
Maybe it's a design made so parents could put their kids down in front of the TV and they wouldn't pick up anything on in the background. Or maybe it was like sort of like a subconscious, like you get bits and pieces out of the show.
And I think that's what it was for me, is that like what I got passively was tone. And I like the tone of the show a lot. I like the stupid over the top rock and roll motif of everything. It's fantastic. But like all of the details just completely passed me by until I sat down and actually like watched it taking notes. And then I really did like it. I thought it was funny. The humor is like atrocious, but in a way that I love, where it's just the worst puns and rhymes and just awfulness. And I loved it.
Would you say it's cheesy? Yes.
Thanks for listening to the best animated shows ever so far. Next week, we'll be talking about Season 1, Episode 2 of Biker Mice from Mars, The Reeking Reign of the Head Cheese, Part 1.
Thanks for listening to the best animated shows ever so far. Find the show on Twitter at BaseSFcast or email us at basesfcast@gmail.com. That's BASESFCAST. Our intro music is Funnin' and Sunnin', and our outro music is Motivator, both by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com, and licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Thanks again for listening, and tune in next time.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
at Probably Work
for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.